Are you looking to grab your prospect's attention in 3 to 5 seconds? Well, you come to the right place. In this episode, we're going to tell you the formula, exactly what you should do and how you should go about doing this to grab your prospect's attention every time within 3 to 5 seconds. Hey everyone, welcome to another great episode of the Sales Evangelist Podcast. I'm your host, Donald Kelly, the Sales Evangelist, and I'm so excited for another great episode. I'm so excited to be here with you today. And on this episode, we have a fantastic guest. As you know, we're going to talk about how to grab your prospect's attention in 3 to 5 seconds using what's known as hook points. And this comes from our friend Brandon Kane. And Brandon, he's a growth hacker. He helps Fortune 500 companies and celebrities learn how to craft social media attention, how to grab people's attention relatively quickly. And he's going to share all about that today and use the concept known as hook points. You're going to love this stuff. Welcome to the show, Brandon.
Thanks for having me. It's great to connect with you and all the people out there listening.
Well, dude, it's an absolute honor to have you, and I'm super stoked about this topic because it's all around this concept of how we can make sure we can get that hook when we're telling these telling these stories, or those points that will help hook people into it. But before we dive into all that fun stuff, man, why don't you tell us a little bit more about you and what you do, Brennan?
Yeah, so my background, today I really act as a growth strategist, and I help brands, corporations, celebrities, both on the B2C and B2B side, really stand out in very crowded and saturated markets. And the way that I got there is my background is very diverse in the fact that I've pretty much have touched many aspects of business, digital, technology, social media over the past 15 years. So started off in entertainment, managing digital divisions for 2 movie studios, overseeing the theatrical release of campaigns ranging from 15 to $100 million budget films, which also afforded me the opportunity to work directly with actors, directors, and producers and how to further syndicate their brand online. And then I just kind of realized that I was really more set out to be an entrepreneur because most people think that like making movies is really sexy and creative. But at the end of the day, it's another corporation. I'm not really suited for working within the corporation. I'm better suited working outside and helping corporations grow. So I left and I started building technology platforms and licensing them back to big media companies. So this is where kind of the B2B side started to really come into play. So I built technology platforms and licensed them to the likes of Viacom, Vice, MTV, Paramount, Yahoo, Lionsgate, to name a few. And it was really the MTV partnership that introduced me to be able to work with big celebrities like Taylor Swift and Rihanna and Michael Strahan on their digital presence. And then from there, I helped grow a paid media company, a social paid optimization company, that again was solely based on the B2B side, where we were optimizing spend for Fortune 100 and 500 companies and helped them grow the company from 4 guys around a table managing $300,000 a year in paid spend to $100 million a year in paid spend in less than about 3.5 years. And again, that was a B2B play, leveraging hooks to do so. And I just saw a lot of the inefficiencies of like the creative process and the creative investment that these corporations were making, because they'd come to me with creative that they spent hundreds of thousands, if not millions of dollars on, and then wanted to spend millions of dollars promoting that piece of creative. And when I asked them, well, how do you know that this piece of creative is going to work to the tune of investing millions of dollars? 9 times out of 10, they didn't have the analytics or data to support that decision. And this was a recurring theme that I see over and over again. So that's where I left and started building my own set of testing methodologies to really test content and messages at scale, whether it was on the B2B side or on the B2B side, to really hone in what content themes, formats, and stories work before you invest too far in any direction. So I was having a tremendous amount of success with that, and then started to apply it to going back to the brand corporations, and then started working again with celebrities, professional athletes on how to further syndicate their brand online. And then that seeded the idea for an experiment that I ran on myself. It was like, okay, this is great if I can do it for huge names, but what about the rest of us? What about people starting from scratch or zero? And I ran an experiment where I was able to amass 1 million followers in 100 countries in 30 days. And
What?
that was the first premise of the book, 1 million followers, that I released 2 years ago. And then the recent book that I just pulled out or just published is called Hook Point: How to Stand Out in a 3-Second World. And that's really the crux of all the success. When I look at the vastness of the career that I've done over the past 15 years, is it really comes down to mastering the art of grabbing attention. Because people ask, well, how did you close Taylor Swift as a client? How did you close MTV? Or how did you grow that paid media company? Or how did you amass 1 million followers in 30 days? And it all comes down to really gaining that attention so people listen to the larger story that you have to tell them.
Holy crap. Well, man, there's so much in that. I am now hooked, and I want to hear, how do we create this hook? So walk us through that. I mean, as a B2B sales rep, I definitely have to do this on LinkedIn, or if I'm a business owner, I definitely have to do this to grab people's attention. And you're 100% right, because everyone is sending crappy emails and sending crappy LinkedIn messages and phone calls. I want to be able to stand out and be able to create that hook. How do I go about doing that right now?
Well, the first place to start is understand that there's over 60 billion messages sent out on digital platforms each day.
Sheesh.
Between social media, text messages, emails, push notifications, it's a very noisy and oversaturated world. And what that means for your business is you're no longer just competing against your direct competition. You're now competing against every piece of content.
Yeah.
Whether if it's on social media, you're competing against LeBron James, Kim Kardashian, Netflix, as people are constantly scrolling their feed. On LinkedIn, you're competing against all these other messages that are sent out on the LinkedIn messaging platform, or email. You're competing against the hundreds, if not thousands, of emails you receive on a daily basis. So first and foremost, you need to understand that when you're crafting your message. And that's why the hook and hook points come in. A hook point is defined as grabbing attention. And it's that first 3 to 5 seconds is, how do I create that pattern interruption? How do I get somebody to first just stop so that we can win the next part of the conversation? Now, where most people go with that first 3 to 5 seconds of their hook point is they're trying to sell in the first 3 to 5 seconds. They're trying to give too much or bombard the person on the other side of the screen, the other side of the message, with too much information. And there's this sweet spot where you can't make somebody think too much and you can't make somebody think too little. You've got to fit right in between. So a hook point is designed to win the first part of the conversation, to create that pattern interruption, to get them to stop. Now, when we talk about a hook point, there's 3 core pillars to making it successful. First, and which we'll dive in deeper in a bit, is how you get somebody to stop. Now, once you have somebody attention in that first 3 to 5 seconds, then it's, what is the story that you're going to tell them to retain that attention? So we're not talking about clickbait here. We're not talking about how you just get somebody to stop and mislead them, because the story has to play into it, and you have to master that art of maintaining the attention. And that's what a lot of the algorithms are focused on. It's a lot of the auctions, if you're doing paid advertising, is focused on. And then the third core pillar is, are you doing it authentically? Do people trust and believe in what you're delivering? And all 3 of these pillars have to play together, because if you don't grab attention, you'll never get to the story, which is where most people fail. If you grab attention and the story sucks, then essentially at the end of the day, it falls flat. If you grab attention, the story's awesome, but people don't believe it, then it falls apart. So all 3 of those have to be working together. Now, I would say that a majority of people, where they're falling flat today, is with that first part, that first pillar, is grabbing attention. They have a great story, they have a great message, they have a great product, but they're just struggling with that pattern interruption. They're struggling to get somebody to stop to win the next part of the conversation and get into the story.
Sheesh. Yeah. And I could tell you that could be a huge part here for many B2B sales reps that I interact with, is just that. But I mean, like you said, there's so much out there, and I know people pull out their hair, not physically or literally, but trying to figure out what do I say to get them to stop? I'm sure you have some kind of like scientific way or psychological portion about what makes people stop in their tracks. So maybe we could talk about that first point now. Like, how do we go about making
Yeah,
that happen? And we could even use an
absolutely.
example. Let's say I'm selling like a software that, the last example I was talking to these guys about painting. But let's say I'm a painter and I paint buildings, for goodness sakes, like corporate buildings. I'm just making something up right now. But
Well, let's first start with
sure.
where people fall apart and what people ultimately gets them not to pay attention is one of the biggest mistakes people make is saying the same thing in the same way as everybody else. So let's talk about, as an example, let's talk about meditation.
Yeah.
Let's say we have a meditation app or a meditation platform, and this could apply to B2B sales. Maybe we're doing a mindset training for corporations.
Yeah.
Now, most people, well, first, let's look at meditation. It's been around for thousands of years. And if you type meditation into Google, you'll probably get 5 billion results.
Sure.
It's crazy the amount of information. So, where most people will go wrong is they'll say something like, meditation's the key to success, or meditation's the key to contentment, or meditation will help your company succeed. You've heard it over and over and over again. So you've got to create that pattern interruption. You've got to create a different way of, or a different perspective. And one of the tools that we use is subverting expectations. So we don't use subverting expectations every time, but it's a great example of flipping things on its head. So with that, I may start out with a headline that says meditation is a scam, because normally you don't see that. So you're scrolling up in your feed, or you get an email or a message and it says meditation is a scam. So that stops you. It's like, wait, meditation is a scam?
It's supposed to be a success.
Yeah, exactly. Maybe I am an active meditator and I just haven't reached potential, or maybe I've tried and I've run into these people all the time. So the headline would say meditation's a scam. Then I would dive into the story and I would say, have you ever felt like meditation's a scam? Well, I really feel your pain, because when I first started out meditating, I tried everything. And I got so much information, people telling me I had to clear my head. And when I sat down, I couldn't clear my head. My mind was always racing. And today what I'm going to do is I'm going to share with you 3 strategies that I've learned as a non-meditator on how to make meditation work for me. So what I did is I started with subverting expectations to create that pattern interruption. Then I dove into the story that matches that. Again, I'm not talking about clickbait. And hopefully the way of me connecting by saying, listen, I've been in your shoes before. I feel your pain. And I'm going to just share what's worked for me. I'm doing it authentically because it is true. It's what I experienced. So that's an example of how you can really garner that attention and bring people in with your story to then move to that next level of the conversation. Now, again, most people fail by saying, well, meditation is the key to success, or meditation is the key to your company's success, or something like that, which, again, it's like, I've already seen it. So I don't need to stop. I don't need to read the rest of the message. I don't need to watch the rest of the video, because I know what it's going to tell me.
So it's kind of in some sense, then, for us as sales reps or entrepreneurs, we need to look and see what the market is saying, and essentially do the opposite of what they're saying in some instances.
That's one tool. It's one example. Now, we don't use subverting expectations every time, but it can be effective. But just knowing if you're dealing with something in a market, and most markets are, like the painters, for example, is how do you stand out from every other painter out there? For example, like painters, your example there, maybe I start off with saying, did you know the color blue in corporate offices increases productivity by over 75%? Like that. And I don't know if there's any truth to that. Like painters would know, but that's
look at my productivity. I have blue offices.
There you go. But that's a way to flip it on its head versus me just reaching out and just saying, hey, do you need your offices painted? Or do you need your office building painted? For example, my friend, who's one of the top business development people in the world, has created a company called Muros, and he's featured in my latest book, Hook Point. But they focus on connecting mural artists and street artists with corporate offices and corporate buildings and corporate companies. Like Shake Shack is one of their customers.
Yeah,
and they've understand how to craft a message of mural art and street art to applying it to brands, to corporations with tremendous success. So always thinking about how can you approach it completely different than everybody else. And it's amazing when I go onto LinkedIn, for example, like we've had tremendous success with LinkedIn. Like I've closed $20 million plus of cold outreach on LinkedIn, closing like Disney and Xbox, just cold outreach. And it's amazing how bad people are at cold outreach on LinkedIn, where it screams, I'm trying to sell you something. Even if they give you something like, oh, I created this article and I think it'd be really valuable to you. It's really understanding the dynamic of the person on the other side of the screen. What is that headline? What is that pattern interruption that's going to make them first stop? And then what is the correlative story that you're going to tell them? And you, from a sales perspective, will definitely get this. And it's amazing how many people don't look at it this way, but people hate to be sold to, but they love to buy.
Oh, yeah.
Do not craft a message where you're trying to sell something. How is your product, your service going to provide massive value to your audience? Like going back to a painter, for example, is where my mind goes is, okay, did you know the color blue increases productivity by over 75%? Like that's interesting. It captures my attention, and it's coming from the standpoint of providing value, because an HR specialist or a CEO of a company, and again, this is an example. I don't know if color,
we're making it up.
We're just making it up. But me as a CEO or an HR specialist, we're always thinking about how do we get the most productivity out of our employees, out of our customers. Or, when I say customers, maybe people come into the office now. With COVID, that's completely shifted. But that's like the line of thinking that I'm going after of how can I understand the pain points that are keeping my core audience up at night? And then how do I hook them in to share that I can solve that specific pain point?
So understand the buyer, understand what's causing them the biggest pain, switching the message from what everyone else is saying and focus it directly on that pain. But I know some of us would listen like, oh yeah, that's a novel idea. I know about that, but they don't do it. I don't get that.
Yeah,
I just don't
that's
get
the thing.
Yeah. And
like most people don't do it.
They'll go back to saying the same thing. Like, we can help you increase your sales. We can help you cut costs. I'm like, holy crap. Why do you think you're the only person, the only human being from the beginning of caveman era to now that has used that? That is such a repetitive statement. And I really like the concept of going back to the, looking at whether it's just the stat about productivity, tying back to their pain, or doing the contrarian type of approach there of pointing out something that, like meditation sucks or meditation doesn't work.
Or the painter thing, completely shifting the dynamic of the conversation about painting offices into something that probably no painter has ever done before.
Yeah.
But it's interesting, like you said, we can increase your sales by 65% or whatever that is. You've got to also understand that hooks get fatigue. And you have to understand that is, yes, increasing sales keeps people up at night. But if you're approaching it in the same way as everybody else, you're going to scream, I'm trying to sell you something. Yeah. And that's something, and I'll give you an example of a company that had an amazing hook, but then it fatigued and the company's struggling, is Tom's Shoes. Tom's Shoes started off 1 for 1. Buy a pair of shoes, we'll donate one. Amazing hook and amazing cause. The problem was it was so good that everybody started doing the 1 for 1. And because Tom's Shoes didn't reinvent their hook, now they're not as unique anymore. And the company has struggled to really take it to the next level. And it's the same thing with, like, I'm here to help you increase your sales. Like, any salesperson can say that, and every salesperson does say that. So how do you differentiate the way that you position yourself in the market so it doesn't scream like I'm just here to sell you something, but rather I'm here to help you and help your company grow?
Yeah. Well, what are some? I guess it comes back to after understanding that hook and after kind of starting to craft this message, so to speak. What's the next thing that we should take advantage of or should do?
Well, a big thing that we really focus on is human behavior and psychology.
Hmm.
understanding how people perceive their pain points, how people perceive the world in different ways. So we have a whole psychology department built into our agency where we look at that. And we use a communication model that's used by NASA, by Bill Clinton, Pixar, and Audi on how to connect at scale. And at a very high level, the way it looks is people perceive the world in different ways. And the way that they perceive the world dictates the way that they want to be communicated with. So some examples, there's a big subset of the population that perceives the world through thoughts and logic. So like data and facts are really important to them. There's another big subset, actually the biggest subset of North America, that perceives the world through feelings and emotion. It's about, how does this make me feel? It's not about the data. It's not about the facts. It's just, how is this product going to make me feel? How is it going to make me feel to work with this person? There's another big subset that's about, is it fun? Is it exciting? How is it funny? Like, how does it, play off of that part of it? And then there's another subset that's values and opinions. Do I trust this? Do I believe this? So where most people go wrong in crafting their story, and once you have their attention, is they're designing it based on how they perceive the world. So again, if I am selling something and I perceive the world through thoughts and logic, typically what's going to happen is my message, my content is just going to be facts and data. Now, that's great for the other people that perceive the world through thoughts and logic, but it alienates the people that perceive the world through feelings and emotion. It alienates the people that perceive the world through fun and humor. And it alienates the people that just want to hear your opinion. So it's really important when you construct that hook point, you construct that story, it's well-rounded. So me, as a painter, going back to the painter, I would start with, working with us. The data shows that we know how to choose colors that can significantly increase productivity in your organization up to 65%. And really working with us, we're going to make your customers, as they walk into your office, your employees, feel so good about being in that presence, because we know the psychology of choosing the right colors. And we fundamentally believe that we're the best fit for you because we take this well-rounded approach. And it's going to be so fun and so exciting to work with us. And your office is going to be voted one of the most fun places to work based on the colors that we choose for you. So with that, basically, I'm diversifying our message to that well-rounded approach. Because when we're doing B2B outreach or sales, we don't know just yet how they perceive the world. So we want to make sure that we have that well-rounded information, both in our hook and our story, so that we can reach the widest possible audience and increase your ability to not only grab that attention, but also increase your ability to convert. So that's why in our agency, when we're working with clients to craft messages, either B2B or B2C, we're looking at a holistic approach. We're not just focused on how do we grab attention, but we're also focused on how do we diversify the message in such a way that everybody can hear it. Because what we find with clients, and we find just in the world in general, it's less about the content. Usually the people's content is solid. It's more about the context. Mm-hmm. How do we contextually wrap it in such a way that the most people can hear it, the most people can really latch onto it?
Dude, that is so. I mean, I'm sitting here jotting down ideas throughout this whole thing because there's some thoughts that I want to take and go apply right now to be able to see this. And, going back to this concept again, that a content could be good, but it's just the context and how I can break through the clutter and to be able to come to the table with something of value. I'm loving this, and I wish we could talk for like another hour to get more insights on this. But if you were to say that there's one major thing, you're talking to a sales rep and she's listening to this and she's hearing this episode for the first time, there's one major thing that she should walk away with from this conversation. What's that major piece of advice?
The main focus that I'd want, if I had to narrow it down to one, is become a master at gaining attention. Become a master of owning the first 3 to 5 seconds, because the world is not going to get any any less noisy than it is right now. No matter
No way.
what market you're in an oversaturated market because you're competing for attention against every product, every piece of content out there. So that is, to me, the number one takeaway. And really, that's what I spent the past 15 years doing. And that's why I spent the past 2 years putting together this Hook Point book, is to share that information with the world, because that's what I find most people are being held back by right now.
If folks want to get access to that book because they're curious about it, how do they go about doing so?
Yeah, what I would recommend is, I'm going to send you a link. It's, if you go to masterclass.hookpoint.com, we actually give you an hour and a half masterclass on this, and you get the ebook and the audio book as well for free when you sign up for the masterclass. And if you want to learn more about kind of our agency and how we work with people, you can go to hookpoint.com. But I would really start with that because it sets the solid foundation. You can also get the book on Amazon or Audible as well.
Done. Well, we'll go ahead and put that back in our show notes, and we can make sure that gets squared away. People can find that. But Brandon, man, I appreciate your wisdom and your insights today. Appreciate you coming on the show today and connecting with us, man. Thank you.
My pleasure. It was a pleasure connecting with you and all the listeners out there.
Awesome. Man, I'm telling you, this stuff was amazing. That was our good friend Brandon. And if you want to connect with Brandon, you can go back into our show notes. You can find all the details there. As well as if you're watching this on TSE TV on YouTube, just scroll down and you'll see all of the information below and some links getting back to Brandon, getting back to his book, and getting back to some of the great content that he's producing. And the concept, again, that he's sharing is not rocket science. The great thing about this is that anyone can do it. Apply it, try it, and let us know how it works for you. Speaking about apply and about try, I want you guys to go and try our friends over at Pipedrive. Pipedrive is giving you an opportunity to try their solution for 30 days. Typically, they only give 14, but 30-day trial of Pipedrive. In addition to that, they're giving you 25% off the first 3 months. They want you to succeed. And in addition to that, I want you to succeed. So I want to tell you about my friends at Wingman as well, because Wingman has a powerful software. And this software is an AI that listens to your call and gives you guidance. I mean, some of you are sales leaders and you're not able to be around your sales team all the time, but Wingman can. And Wingman will help your sellers to make sure to stay on track. Go and check out Wingman today. Try Wingman. It's amazing. Again, you can go to salesevangelist.com and see all the details, or just go to trywingman.com. As always, I share stuff like this because I want you to thrive and succeed. I want you to find more of those ideal customers. I want you to know what to say when you reach out to them, and I want you to be able to close more deals. Most importantly, I want to challenge you each and every single day to go out and do big things. Thanks so much for watching. Hey, thanks so much for taking the time to watch this video today. If you enjoyed the content, I ask you to go ahead and hit that like button, that thumbs up in the bottom right-hand corner. Also, to make sure to subscribe if you haven't done so already. This way, we'll keep you up to date with all the latest sales strategies, latest tools, and things that are going to help you to not only find more prospects, but to close more deals. Thanks so much.